Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well and welcome back. And so it's the end of the month, and that means it's time for our monthly whiskey haul. And today we are doing our September whiskey haul. So you can see the 18 bottles we got, why we got it, and ultimately how much damage it did to the old whiskey budget. Now, if you like these videos, our wanders, our reviews, and all the other whiskey stuff we are doing now and will be doing in the future, remember to hit that like and subscribe button so you can get notified when our newest weekly videos come out on Sunday. All right, now, before we get started, let's do a real quick whiskey check for today, which is with a spectacular Irish whiskey with a little bit of age to it, something a little different than we have been doing before. You know, I feel fancy today. I got collars on, so... It's nice day. It's good enough to... I feel like I wanted to get spruced up a little bit to drink something nice. Let's get a little bit of that. Before we get started. And realistically, the great thing about whiskey is you can never really drink too much whiskey. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. All right, now let's get down to it. Now, as per usual, these bottles are not in any specific order. They're just kind of in an order that I thought would make the most sense. So it's not most expensive to least expensive or best bottle to less best bottle. It's just kind of in order that, I thought would make the most sense. So here we go. Now, the first whiskey that I picked up this month is one that I am pretty excited about because it's the first of the real difficult Wellers that I've actually been able to find. This one specifically, the Weller 107 Antique Collection, or the Antique 107, I should say. Take a look at that. That's nice. It's got the red and the gold. Beautiful. It is sort of unique because it's one of the earliest whiskeys in U.S. history that adopted having wheat as a secondary grain to its mash bill. It's probably between 6 and 8 years old, but there is no age statement on it. Yeah. There's no age statement on it, so, it's kind of left open to speculation. But the one real unique aspect of it is that the old Rip Van Winkle shares the same mash bill with it. So, some people may be able to consider it as like a poor man pappy, if you will. So it's definitely easy to see why it's hard to find and why so many people are picking it up and why I picked it up as well. Now, I ended up picking this one up at my local Vons. In fact, I got two of them, so 1 and 2, for $65.56. That's including tax, so $65.56 for each of the bottles. Obviously, the ABV on it is at 53.5%, which is what adds up to 107. And I think that these Wellers will be a nice addition to my Weller and Buffalo Trace, and hopefully, fingers crossed, my Pappy Van Winkle collection here moving forward. But it's a good place to start. And also, they go really well with the other Wellers that I also got this month. So I don't know if maybe Wellers is coming out or what, but we'll talk about that one later in the haul because I got another Wellers too. Now, the next one that I picked up for this month is another part of the Buffalo Trace family, but maybe with a bit of an accent, and probably takes some additional days off for holidays during the year, which is this Buffalo Trace Kosher. Let's take a look at that. Now, the interesting thing about this Buffalo Trace is, which is, by the way, it has been approved as kosher by the Chicago Rabbinical Council, so I think that means something for sure. But the thing is, I'm not really sure why this one exists. I mean, I'm super happy that it does, because it does answer the question if you had ever wondered what Buffalo Trace would taste like if it was kosher. But it does have an ABV of 47%, which is a bit higher than the standard Buffalo Trace that you get on the shelves. I also got this one at Vons for $50.38. There's no age statement or anything on it as far as how old it is, so it's probably the exact same juice as Buffalo Trace. But I think it'll make a great addition to the collection because, well, it's kind of just the offbeat, the black sheep of the Buffalo Trace family. It's not necessarily rare, just they didn't make a lot of it because I don't imagine there's a huge demand for it. But I think it'll be really interesting to compare with the rest of the Buffalo Trace as we progress along and get more and more Buffalo Trace into the collection. So really glad I was able to find this and get this one. It is a wheated recipe, so I think that'll be pretty cool. All right, so moving along swiftly, here's these next two bottles are ones that I picked up that I just simply lucked out. There's no way around it. They were not on the shelves. They are not listed anywhere. The only way that I even noticed it is because somebody had them in their carts. They had a bottle of it in their cart, and I had realized that I had not seen it while we were going to the whiskey aisle, which is this Ardbeg 19, which I'm very excited about. I think that it'll be a great addition to the collection. And in fact, I got two of them just in case, so you can drink one and not have that bottle anxiety that goes along with seeing your bottle continually go down. So basically all that happened is I had to go to the merchandise pickup people and ask them directly if they still had some. They did, and I got two of them. They're aged, obviously 19 years old. They have an ABV of 46.2%, and I paid $269.99 for each of them, which I think is expensive. That is true, but it seems relatively fair, especially because I've tried some of the other younger Ardbegs, like the Wee Beastie. So I like the name of it because it's wee and beastie. So I think, although I have not seen an Ardbeg at 19, and that's part of the reason why I got this one, is the oldest one I've ever been able to buy, and not some sort of crazy expense to it. But I think that it'll be a great addition to the collection because as you drink through, you can see what the Ardbeg, maybe Wee Beastie, or the 10 years really would taste like if it had essentially another 9 years of maturation on it. So these ones are specifically from the same batch. It is batch number TB/03-10.10.01/21.BL. I think that might be a date, but I don't know if it's in the American version or the European version. And it was distilled by Colin Gordon. So we got two of them. Colin Gordon, thanks, buddy. I'm looking to try out the juice that you have supervised. So that is the next one I got, not to be too bourbon centric. Now, speaking of being bourbon-centric, I think that these next two are kind of the icons of the bourbon lovers out there. And I got two of them, which is this Michter's Rye 10, which, again, is another kind of rock star of my collection, just because, the collection's still growing and we have a lot of the easy stuff to get. These are really some of the first really hard ones that I've been able to find. These really two caught my eye because, again, they have an age statement on them, they're available, and they are at reasonable prices. I was able to get them at a reasonable price. I actually got these two at basically a random liquor store out in the middle of the desert. And I think that oftentimes you'll find that some of these really random liquor stores have great selections and they're out in the middle of nowhere. You just happen to find them, and it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just a thing. But so I got each of these for $250.11, which is, again, reasonable in today's market. I think reasonable enough, I should say. They have ABVs of 46.4%, and they are aged, obviously, 10 years. And one of the most interesting and enjoyable things about this is the fishnet on it. I really like the fishnet. I know they do it for the Blantons too. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable in a positive way, if you catch my drift. Or maybe you're like that kid from Christmas Story when his dad gets the lamp that has the fishnet on it, the leg lamp, fragile, right? It must be from Italy. So I like that, and I'm really excited to have these and try them along with our Michter's collection, which are starting pretty basic, just basically the Michter's USA 1 is what I got. So it's also rye, though, so we can drink through that and see how that relates, and see how that relates to some of these other whiskeys that we also got that are in the Michter's family, although not under the Michter's name. Okay, so these next two bottles are ones that I really like because as a founding member of a group that I have not made up, but I'm making up right now, the West Coast Fire Breathers, which is a group for folks who drink whiskey with an ABV over 100%. I really like ABV that would preclude you from getting onto a plane. And by that I mean they are the hazmat bottles. And this Old Forester single barrel is not quite that just yet. as you need to have an ABV of 70% or higher, I think. But this one has an ABV that's pretty darn close at 65.5%, which is just below that 70%. And these are unique to Bevmo because they are Bevmo barrel picks, as I pulled out 2 of them here. So obviously I got them at Bevmo. They were $79.99 each. They don't have an age statement on them as far as how old they are, but it does say Bevmo Select 2022 Volume 2. So I don't know if there's a Volume 1. Presumably there is. And I think these will make a great addition to my Old Forester collection because I have a lot of the easier to get, I wouldn't call them lower level, but just easier to get, less expensive Old Foresters. And they tend to be pretty good as far as the ones I've tried so far. But I like the fact that with the higher ABV on these, I won't have to worry about drinking through the line and, running out of ABV, hitting that ABV red line before the night is done. So excited to have these a part of them and to eventually try them out and share that with y'all. Okay, so the next bottle that I picked up was basically just a shot in the dark. I usually don't drink whiskeys that have too many ornaments and frilly things on them, or that are, I don't know, I guess I don't know how you describe it, but basically just don't seem generally concerned about the whiskey. They seem more flash than they do sizzled in the steak, I guess. I'm mixing up my metaphors there. But I picked this one up, and it has a nice little a book on here, just in case you wanted to read a bedtime story, perhaps, The Heart of Kentucky, where Johannes Jacob Beam set down the foundation of over 235 years of tradition and innovation. This is our origin story, a collaboration across generations. Oh, I guess I'd sleep better listening to that. But something about this whiskey, just the fact that it's associating itself with, a 19th century military-like person, Colonel Jim Beam. I don't know if he's like Colonel Sanders and just kind of honorifically got Colonel. But those things always strike at the heart of my nostalgia. So I saw it. It's got this weird leather strap on it. I don't know what you do with it. I don't think you could actually hold it by it, but yeah. So I did end up picking this one up. It was $83.21 from Total Wine. It says that it's aged 2 years, and it's actually part of a couple that came out, but this one has the lower of the ABVs, but the other one wasn't available at the time. And also, in the booklet, it claims that the lower ABV is on purpose to have a fuller flavor. So, you can take that for what it's worth. I guess we'll see. Anyways, like I said, I picked this one up. It's truly gimmicky. It's kind of gimmicky, but hopefully there's more to it than that, and hopefully I might be more surprised. And again, it is from the Beam collection, so you can always compare it to the other Beamers out there. Now next we come to the next of the Wellers that I actually picked up this month, which is this Weller Special Reserve. Now this one is a lot easier to find. It's not the easiest thing to find. It's not everywhere. You can't throw a rock and hit one, but it's also not the hardest to find either. It's just, it comes about here and there. And I picked it up at the same time as I got the Weller 107, so from Vaughn's. And I think I got it for a pretty fair price. I got it for $24.99 at Vaughn's. Thanks, Vaughn's. It has an ABV of 45%, which is, it was still pretty good, and it has no age statement on it. So, I think it really is a $24 bottle of whiskey. Not there's anything wrong with it, just it is a $24 whiskey. But what I do like on here is that it says, and it refers to itself as honest whiskey at an honest price, which sometimes can be laughable when you see the actual cost of these bottles, at your local liquor store, or at some place you stop off to get gas for 3, 4, 5 times over what the MSRP is. So I'm lucky I got this one for a fair price, and again, I think it'll be a great part of the drink through when I do the Weller's tasting and enjoy those as we progress through that. Ooh, okay, so for these next two are ones that are really kind of special. This one specifically, this Shenk's 2022 release. If you can get that on the camera. Put that over here. These are, I guess, being put out kind of sort of in the same way that Hardin's Creek is from Beam's side. They're an homage or maybe like a legacy whiskey that harken back to the early years, but in this case for Michters, who used to be released under the name Shenks. So, it was Shanks, and then it was another name, and then it became Michters as they progressed and evolved throughout history. I got this one sort of at a random liquor store. It ran me $129.32, so, definitely not on the cheaper side. It has an ABV of 45.6%. So, it's not a heavy hitter, right? It's not something that's going to kind of put you on your heels. But it's definitely, probably, hopefully, in my hope is that it'll be something that will be well balanced. This one specifically is bottle number 1258 out of 1,903 bottles. So it's at the higher end of the batch. And it's batch number 22F1881, if y'all can see that. So I guess giving its uniqueness and its old-timey mythology and its good reviews, because it did get very good reviews, and my growing love of Michters, I picked this one up because it's sort of an offshoot of the mythos of Michters, and I think that'll be a good counterbalance to the Michters 10 and the one that we also have. So you can kind of see what direction they go with it, right? As you look up the family tree, some of those branches might be pretty interesting, even if it's not really the original one, a real original one. It's a homage that's paying tribute to it, and it might have more maybe of that old-timey Michters feel than whatever they're producing now. So excited to have this one, and I look forward to trying that one. So not to be left out, as maybe probably kind of sort of the next in line after the Shanks is this Bomberger's, which is another one of the special ones that kind of came out at the same time. It is still by the Michters distillery, obviously, and it's that mid-step. So it was Shanks and then Bomberger's, and then eventually, I don't know if there's anything in between, it became Michters. But these two, I feel like they should actually be tried together, right? These are two that probably should be tied together because they're different manifestations of the same organization. And basically, the Bomberger's is, it's essentially the Homo erectus to the what Michters is now as a Homo sapien. So, when you think of like the Cro-Magnon person moving up this way, all the way up to who we are now, Bomberger's is that middle step. I got this one for $145.62, again, at that same random liquor store. Actually, you know what? This one was at Vaughn's. Sorry, this one was at Vaughn's. And it is number 1,790 out of 2008. And it is batch 22G2143 2022 release. It's got an ABV of 54%, so it is a bit higher than what Shanks was at. And again, after getting the Shanks, I figured it would totally just make sense to have the Bomberger's because they're related in some ways, like version 1 and version 2 maybe, and be able to compare them to the Bomberger's, the Shanks, and the Michters, and the normal Michters, and any other Michters I'm able to pick up in the future moving forward. So really happy to have this part of the collection, and again, gonna be real excited to try it out. All right, these next two whiskeys that I also picked up are sort of my new favorites. It's definitely one of my favorite whiskeys coming out of the West Coast. Out of Las Vegas specifically is the Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. And I had showed this on one of the other videos. I think we referenced it for something else. But we did end up picking it up this month. And, despite being a newer whiskey maker, I guess newish, they really, Smoke Wagon that is, have been pushing the edges of whiskey being made to represent the current times. They're making whiskey for right now. They're not trying to make whiskey harken back to, Colonel Sanders' time or back in the day. They're making whiskeys for right now. This one specifically is the Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered, and it is the flagship of the Smoke Wagon line. And I really like it because it has a nice balance of sweetness and ABV, and I guess what I would describe as rustic grit. It makes it a go-to bottle for me. And, I never try to go below having at least a couple bottles of this on the bar. I got this one currently open and working on that one, but I find it's a sad day when I run out of it. This one specifically I got for $62.99 in South Las Vegas, the Costco and maybe Henderson, actually. It's batch 144B, and it was bottled on May 7th, 2022. It does not have an age statement on it, but it does, when I try it, I get a mature enough flavor to have an enjoyment and a complexity to it, but also a youthful exuberance that keeps me excited and coming back to it. It's got an ABV of 57.44%. I don't know if you can pick that up there. And because of its sweetness and the ABV, it does tend to be an after dark drink, something that comes in later in the night after dinner, maybe even for a nice nightcap before you hit the sheets. So I got this one as a backup. I like it, and I'm happy to have it as a backup so I can keep drinking my Smoke Wagon unfiltered, uncultured, uncut, and unfiltered. Now on the other side of the Smoke Wagon whiskey wheel, get it? The wheel, the wagon wheel. Okay, either way. It reminds me of The Simpsons where they have that paint your wagon scene. Either way, this one is the newest, and what I'm assuming going to be a production version of their Smoke Wagon Rye Bottle and Bond. I actually just reviewed this one maybe earlier this week, last week. So if you want to see a fuller review of it, take a look at that on the channel page. That's up as well. But, this one is something that I also picked up in Las Vegas at the Total Wine in the South Strip for $69.99. I got just one bottle. It has a mash bill of 51% rye and 49% malted barley. And it adds, what I like to think, a level of spice and colorfulness and really like I guess I would call it like a masculine funk to it, to the whiskey that you don't really get from the uncut and unfiltered one that we talked about here earlier. It's a bottle and bond, so it has an ABV of 50%. And judging by, the standardized labels and stuff like that, there's no handwriting on it. Again, that's probably why I think it's going to be more of a production line version of it. And I think that although I have not seen a lot of these on the shelf as of late or yet at all, I think once they get out there, they're going to be a real crowd pleaser. So I'm happy to have it a part of the collection. And really, I'm kind of regretting not buying a second one after trying it and really finding it to be quite enjoyable. All right, so for those of you folks out there who are big fans of Kirkland whiskey, of all shades of it, this next one, at least for me, was pretty exciting to get. I was real happy to find this. It got a lot of hype online, and realistically, in some of the tastings I've seen people doing on it, they were pleasantly surprised about the quality of the whiskey, which is this Kirkland Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. Now, I am a huge fan of Kirkland. I got the bottle and bond. We got the single barrel. We got the 19 Speyside single barrel as well. So I was excited to get this one because I think it's the first Islay that at least I've seen in the time that I've really started seriously collecting Scotch. I got it for $38.78. And like I said, I'm just, I like Kirkland as a whole. I think they make great hot dogs, right? And why wouldn't they make great tires and great whiskey as well? I believe it is probably, it doesn't say exactly where it is sourced, but it is put together by Alexander and Murray & Co., who does all the other whiskeys for Kirkland. And from what I'm told, it is specifically not Lagavulin. So I don't know what it is. I'm excited to try it. It's great to have it a part of the Kirkland side of the collection, because I think anything that Kirkland puts out, I mean, look, I even got the 7-year-old bourbon, which is not bad. I will tell you, for what it is, it's not bad. Anything that Kirkland puts out, I always pick it up because I know it's at least worth the value. Now, to make a strong finish, a last finish, and not a least finish, the last one on this list is going to be this High West Campfire. Now, this is a very, very interesting amalgamation of literally and I guess figuratively for that matter, the two sides of the whiskey world. Because although it does hail from Utah, High West mixes American whiskey, bourbon, and peated Scotch to make a very intriguing whiskey. And it sort of kind of sounds like what you would get at the end of the night when you wash out the bar mat, but in a good way. Or maybe like if you're doing your first infinity bottle and you forget that you shouldn't be putting peated scotch with any other whiskey because it's just going to make everything taste that way. It's like that, but professionals actually did it. So I picked this one up because I am a bourbon as well as a scotch drinker. I like to think of myself as a whiskey omnivore. And I've always thought it was strange that there isn't really a ton of crossover in the styles in general. There's not a bourbon that's also peated or smoky, I guess. I know there's a difference, but for the sake of argument, it doesn't have that smoke flavor. Just in general, it's not a common flavor in bourbon. So I'm happy that they did this. You know, it's basically the equivalent of the Flintstones meets the Jetsons. For those of you who are old enough to watch that. But I bought 2 of these bottles. I got them from Costco for $54.99 here in Los Angeles. The ABV on them is at 46 proof. And, like Smoke Wagon, High West is yet another one of those, I don't know about avant-garde, but on the edge of new age whiskey. The whiskey that's coming out now that's taking up that challenge of advancing what whiskey can be and should be to modern taste. Not folks with bolo ties and Van Dyke mustaches, although I do like those as well. And that's why I thought it'd be a great addition to the collection. It's a little bit strange. I have another High West that I have not tried yet. I think it's like the Prairie one where it's got the antelope on it. I just got it because I needed to get the discount on the 6 bottles. So this is the first one that I'm really going to try and really excited to have. And although some people may consider, the mixing of Scotch and bourbon together distasteful, perhaps even an abomination, sometimes it is those strange mixes that really can end up making the best results. So happy to got these last 2 of the collection, and I think. I think that the bottles look great. They're made, they're hand blown, I guess. Looks like it at least. And it'll be a great entry into the High West line for me. Okay, so now that we have all the bottles set out, let's see what the final count for this full month's haul for September comes out to. So we're looking at a total of 18 bottles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, including the duplicates. And the total price for the haul for this month comes out to $2,001.94. So, needless to say, let me get a drink after that. Needless to say, it is a healthy bite out of ye old whiskey budget. Overall, for this month's whiskey availability, at least here on the West Coast, and I guess Nevada, so we'll call it in the West, has been pretty good. There are a lot of really interesting and newer batches of whiskeys that are coming out. And also, as we get into the fall, this is the time when the big, hard-to-get and allocated bottles start coming out. So it's important to keep your eyes open for it. I know I definitely will. On the shelves and at the liquor stores and maybe even at Costco. And ultimately, I really look forward to trying and tasting some of these whiskeys moving forward and having an opportunity to see what you all think of them. I know a lot of you at least, have tried some of these whiskeys, and I would love to get some feedback from that as well in comparison to what I think as we start doing more reviews and going over them as well. So that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. And again, if you have not yet subscribed, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button and the notifications so you can get notified when the newest videos come up. Now, finally, one last thing. Just remember, if you do see a whiskey that you love, just make sure you buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. All right, I'm out, and adios.